What's going on, everybody? We're back with an episode of the Breakthrough Boundaries podcast. I'm Austin Spitzenberger. I have my buddy Yitz here. I'm ashamed to say this, but I'm not sure if I know how to say your name because ever since I've known you, it's just been Yitz.
Yeah. I mean, that makes it easier. So Yitz like I always say Yitz like Ritz-Carlton and then Ock like October. But it takes a while.
I figured it was Yitzchak, right? Like,
Yep.
But I don't know. Like, with my last name being Spitzenberger my entire life, everyone has referred to me as Spitz.
Yeah.
Like nobody knew me as Austin. Like even in class and stuff, when they're like introducing people, like, "What is your name?" and then somebody would say Austin Spitzenberger, and then I remember this one of my buddies like, "Oh, that's Spitz." Like he doesn't go by Austin. Who's Austin? Right?
Yeah. I've had so many nicknames over the years, but Yitz is the most recent one. Well, actually, I've had people call me Yitz or Yitzy, like friends in the past, but again, getting into business, I didn't think it was as professional, and trying to fit into the crowd, I went by Zach for a little bit, and then it was like, all right, well, I'm not really a Zach, and that doesn't really like fit. I didn't ever really like it, so I just like was taking full ownership of my name and figured out ways to make it easier on people. But it's been good, being more comfortable not being normal, having abnormal qualities, and sticking out from the crowd. I saw John Maxwell couple last month, and he talks about the people pile. It's like you should be trying to crawl out of the people pile, not like fit in with everybody else, being okay with standing out and being different. And so I've gotten a lot more used to that and comfortable with being uncomfortable and sticking out of the crowd.
I think like if you go by Zach and somebody says, "Hey, do you know a real estate agent named Zach?" There's gonna be like 20 real estate agents in New Braunfels that are registered named Zach. Mm-hmm. But if you say Yitz or Yitzchak, it's like you know him or you don't know him. Like that's it. Yeah. And like same with Spitzenberger, it's like I've seen a few others like out there, but like it's pretty rare.
Absolutely.
But anyways, man, what are we chatting about today? So what do you want to dive into?
Yeah, I think how this started was, just we have conversations all the time, constantly wanting to improve ourselves and also be around other people who want to improve themselves. And usually our conversations are around fitness and health and real estate and finance and, increasing your wealth and increasing your overall health. So that was kind of the concept of here, just to talk. So, I've got some topics here on real estate, on mindset and performance, self-improvement and education, and health and fitness. I mean, and I think for all of these, part of what we're doing here is marketing, being able to use these clips for our own social media, being able to record them and put them out there for people to where they're not only helping us in our day-to-day lives, iron sharpens iron, it's also putting it out there for other people to be able to get some value from it and implement some things into their life or learn some new things.
Yeah, I think we're two individuals that have a lot to offer. I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but I think we both want to pour back into the community as much as we can and help as many people as we can, but that's just kind of like, I feel like the way that we're wired.
Yeah.
But I was going to start with your shirt. 1% better every day.
Yep.
So what does that mean to you?
I think a lot of people overthink it, and they think they have to accomplish these massive goals, or they're like, "Oh, I've got this thing that I want to do, and it's so big, or it's so far out of my reality," and it's breaking it down into smaller, more achievable steps. And if you know about compounding, when you look at 1% better every day, you got compounding interest, and you've got these principles for finances and wealth, and it kind of is transferable to this concept of 1% better every day. It turns out if you just focus on that with any subject, whether it's real estate or finance, reading, learning something, taking a course, a video throughout a year, throughout 365 days, you end up being 37.78 times better by the end of that year. So 1% better compounded every day is 37 times better at the end of that year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think like I made a Facebook post about this at the beginning of the year. I think the mistake that people make is they try to do this massive jump all at once, and you're setting yourself up for failure. So that's why kind of how I equate to it. 1% better every day. Like pick one thing first. like whatever is your big bottleneck. If it's drinking alcohol, like go 2 weeks first and stop drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Right. And then stack the next habit, but much later. Like you have to change your identity first.
Yeah.
And I think like if you're like, okay, I'm going into 2025, I'm not going to drink. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start dieting. Like you're going to fuck all that up, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't do that.
Much.
It just takes, and I think I came from a place where like 3 years ago, I was doing everything wrong. And I just got to the point where I looked in the mirror and I was like, dude, this is not like you aren't designed to be this way.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do? I need to start changing things. So I just started knocking things down, like drinking alcohol, stacked that, and then, kind of habit stacked over a long period of time. And now, even now to this day, there's still things like me and you talked about, like I give myself 2 days a week to drink. I mean, not 2 days a week, 2 days a month to drink alcohol. So my goal for this year is 24 times drinking alcohol. And you're like, I don't drink alcohol at all. And I was like, okay, that's where I'm trying to go. Like I'm trying to get to that point. But being a casual drinker, you can't just jump from that to like, hey, cold turkey, I quit. Unless maybe you're like an alcoholic or something like that. But my thing was like, okay, the next year, let's look at like, hey, 1 day a month. Let's see if we can get 12 days and then until it's completely eliminated, right? I think the same thing translates like working out. Like you and I see you at the gym every day. We go every single day, but you can't go every single day if you've not gone ever.
Yeah.
So last thing I'll wrap up on is like a phenomenon of like one of my business mentors. He was telling me like how he got this guy that he worked with to drop like 200 pounds. Is like the first week he was like, you just go to the gym, check in and go home. Go to the gym, check in and go home. And he was like, then the next week, walk 5 minutes on the treadmill every day and then go home, to a point where it's like, okay, I just now need to change my identity as somebody that goes to the gym. So that's how you do it right there. But if you're like, hey, I'm going to go work out an hour and a half each day and you never worked out, you're screwed. You're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. I think we see everybody's day 1,000, day 100 and compare it to our, day one. It's taken me 14 years to be this consistent. And I've gone through, I've had partied a lot, drank a lot, been arrested, had DWIs, like the stuff that nobody knows behind the scenes of everything that it took me to get here. I share those things openly now because it makes it more believable and achievable for somebody else to do this. Whereas they hear about everything that I do now and they're like, oh, I couldn't do that. And it was like, well, I worked up to this, I was 250 pounds at my heaviest and I've been down to 170. But back then I would always just like, okay, I'm going to cut out drinking for a month and I'm going to eat healthy and I'm going to go jogging, 7 miles a day and like go cycling and like I would drop weight really quickly.
But then what happened?
I would just go back to who I was. My identity was, I didn't have the identity shift.
You took a break, really, is what happened.
Yeah, and then I just go back and put it all on. So it wasn't until I switched my mindset to I am a healthy, active person. Like I live a healthy, active lifestyle and I'm forming healthy habits for my future self. I want to be working out and healthy, exercising, still working in my 70s, 80s, and 90s. And that's like, you have to have a long time horizon for your goals and realize that, okay, if I mess up one day, that's fine because that's just a drop in the bucket in the consistency that I'm going to have over the long term. And if you can have that mindset shift, it'll help you accomplish those goals much easier. But there's also, I find that there's like a dichotomy in a lot of things. There's, the complete opposite. So you can't just like work out all of the time and then like not enjoy life. Like I wouldn't want to be one of the strict hardcore bodybuilders who works out, 4 hours a day in the gym and they track everything and they never eat anything off task. And, then as they get older, like that lifestyle, that extreme, one extreme to the other, you got to find a balance that works for you, what your ideal vision of life looks like, because that's not, when I was younger, I thought, okay, it'd be cool to be a bodybuilder, but then I thought about all that goes into that, and it's like, I don't have the passion to pursue that. It's like, my clarity is to be active and healthy in old age, and that bodybuilder lifestyle isn't necessarily sustainable for that.
Yeah, and I think if you're trying to like if you're focused on your real estate agent business, like that's only going to take away from that. So you only have so much energy to dispense. So like being a bodybuilder probably is a full-time job. Like the dude we saw at the gym the other day with hooked up with all this electrical equipment. Like he's about it, and that takes up all his time. So to me it's like it's just a component of the whole machine that makes the machine run. So it's like
helps me have the energy to pursue my other goals in life. You know, it's part of Brendan Burchard talks about we don't always have energy, or like a power. He talks about a power plant doesn't have energy, it generates energy. Like you do these things to give yourself more energy to accomplish whatever other goals in life, whether it's spending time with your family, you know, running a business. The exercise and health is like the number one factor. If you don't have those things, you can't do any of the other things in life that you want to do that are important to you.
Yeah, and I think it makes the main thing is it like makes you feel good. So when I do that, like you and I were talking about, that's the best part of my day too, is just getting up, going to the gym. After that, I feel like I can conquer everything because the hardest part is over with, and I'm all pumped up. I feel good, you know. And over time, as you see the results and you start looking good, you know, you look in the mirror and you like the way you look. You walk into the room. Your head's up, your chests are out. People are like, okay, that guy, he takes care of himself. There's just so much benefits that come to it that it's like, if I had to pick one thing, and you can't pick one thing, but if you had to pick the most important thing, it would be consistency in the gym, and then probably, man, there's too much. There's too much, but it's a combination of everything.
Breaking it down even smaller, it's keeping the small promises to yourself. Like those small promises of, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do something hard today, I'm going to do something that helps my future self. We're in a instant gratification world, and like going to the gym is not an instant gratification thing. You don't see the results immediately. It's that consistency over time, and the confidence comes from making promises to yourself and keeping those promises.
That's it.
Because when you say, I'm going to go do this, and then you break the promise, you're giving yourself too much leniency, and then you don't trust yourself to do the things you say you're going to do. And a lot of what being a good business owner, being a good person, is the things that you practice in private, you know, transfer to like the public. And so everything that the unseen hours, all of the things that you do behind the scenes that help you, that people are like, oh wow, you're doing so good, you know that's awesome, but they don't see the behind the scenes stuff, and it doesn't really matter. That's all for you. You know, doing those things is what gives you the confidence to go out there and accomplish the big things in life.
Yeah, I think that translates into just even being in this room right now. The first time we did it, you know, months ago, I feel like I did fine, but I was significantly more nervous. Like the cameras were on, I was like, all this shit is so legit. Like what? It was almost like that feeling, like that imposter syndrome feeling. Like, should I really be here? Should people still really be looking at me and listening to me? And now at this point in stage, this is like my new normal.
Yeah.
Like other things make me uncomfortable. This is something I know I'm supposed to be here and supposed to be doing, but it contributes off of what you're saying is kind of just keep being consistent with that. Yeah. And now this is just normal to me. So
yeah, absolutely. I got to meet yesterday. I went to a real estate event, and there's a girl there named Deborah Bird, and she's a social media like guru. She has her own business and helps real estate mostly. She found a niche. She helps loan officers and realtors with their social media. But I took a class from her like 3 years ago when I had just got in the business, and you know, I didn't know what I was doing, but I learned a lot, and I implemented what she taught at that class. And then I've seen her like almost every year. She'll come back and teach, and so it's encouraging. I'm one of like her best success stories to sticking with it. It wasn't like people are like, oh well, I don't know how to get in front of a camera, or you know, I'm worried about what I look like or what I sound like. And all you have to do, the only way you're going to get over that is get in front of the camera more. Do the task. Like you can plan it out all you want, but at a certain point you just got to do it. And that's the only way that I've gotten better over the years is doing. I looked at my social media on Instagram. I have, you know, like 1,100 posts. And so, you know, probably over 1,000 of those are videos, and that's just on one platform, not counting my YouTube. I've made thousands and thousands of videos over the last 3 years, and that's the only way that I've gotten better is simply just do the task. And a lot of people don't want to do that. You know, I used to have a problem with the analysis paralysis of like, wanting to know all of the information before I took action. And I realized you have to take action because there's so many things that you're not going to know until you're in the trenches doing the thing. And that's where you get the most experience.
Yeah, I have nothing to say to combat that like that. That's exactly how it works. Like you could sit there all day long and, read and all this stuff and take one more class and, I just need this course and I need this conference. And then after I get to those things, I'll be able to get started. But at the end of the day, it's like exactly like you said, you learn by doing. So go out there and make mistakes, learn from them, and don't make them again. That's it.
Yeah. And again, goes back to the dichotomy. Every time I talk about one extreme to the other, it's having the balance of still putting in the work and the preparation and taking classes, because one thing that helps me get better on YouTube is I paid $5,000 for a class on how to make better YouTube videos for realtors from a successful company. And at the time, that was a big investment, spending $5,000. But they helped me do 8 videos, and those 8 videos are the top performing videos on my YouTube channel, which brought me clients that I sold 24 homes to last year.
So the ROI was there.
Yes.
The $5,000 got you exactly what you wanted, more money in return.
Yeah. So it's figuring out, okay, yes, I need to go do the thing, but I also need to back it up with the preparation, the education, investing in myself, betting on myself that I'm going to put in the work and take the action in order to get the result that I want.
Yeah, I think it's like that with people too, right? You're investing in courses, but there's also the similar concept of investing in people, whereas I think of specific mastermind groups or something, paid mastermind groups, where a lot of people would be like, oh, they're just trying to sell me something. Well, yeah, they need money to run their mastermind group, but they're creating the venue and the space of like-minded people to come together. And honestly, the way it works is the more expensive they are, the higher caliber of people are in there. So you want to spend as much money as you can to make sure you're getting into the right rooms with people that do what they say they do, and they're not scammers and stuff like that. So vet these people. But being around people like that, where you had a shortcut by taking a course, not my experience is more of I've had shortcuts through my network of friends. I know people already that if I got to help as many people as I can first, but also when I need help or I need an answer to a question, I know who to reach out and who that person is that can help me skip all these steps that if you were reading a book or reading a course, you would be trying to figure it out. It's hey, I'll skip the 5 steps because so-and-so over here has already done this. And, I think that's my nugget is help as many people that you know in your future that you want to work with. And there was a guy on another podcast that I had. I haven't read this book, but I understand the concept. Have you read the book by Gary Vee? It's jab, jab, hook or something like that.
I've heard the concept.
Yeah, so I never read it. It's one of those books where I kind of know what it's already about.
Give, and then ask.
You've given so much to this person already that they can't say no to you unless they're just a piece of shit. But it's it's really just hey, I've helped you so much. But it's kind of selfish in a way, but we're wired that way. So whenever we give to people, we get that dopamine hit of hey, everybody likes to actually help people. Yeah. So you help them as much as you can. And I've done that with a lot of people at a higher level. I'm I don't really need anything from this person, but I want to work with them someday. So I'm just going to stay on their radar. How am I going to stay on their radar? I'm going to keep helping them, giving them clients, giving them whatever I can do to if I see them somewhere, I'm going to go strike that conversation, see what I can do to help their business. And then furthermore, it's okay, when that time comes, I'll have my opportunity, the door will open and I'll walk through it,
Yeah. And with masterminds, it's often who, not how, and there's a whole book on that concept of
Still haven't read it. I still haven't read that one either, but it's on my list.
But I already know.
Yeah,
it's who can I partner with? Who complements me? Who has a skill that I don't have? And it's also success leaves clues. If somebody else has already done the thing that you're wanting to do, and you can go pay for access to shorten the learning curve and the
amount of time.
Instead of you're taking your trial and errors, you trying to go figure it out on your own. That's one thing that I've had to work on. I used to like to do everything myself and be very self-reliant and independent, and I was well, that is actually a detriment to yourself at a certain point where you can't ask for help. The more you can ask somebody for help who's been where you've been, they can help you get there a lot quicker. And so that's something that I will pay for. I've paid for coaching, masterminds, all of these things that will, again, who not how, help me get to where I want without me having to exhaust myself. And then in turn, paying it forward. being that person for somebody else, sharing that knowledge with somebody else. Once I know something, like I've done a lot of leadership courses, and one of the exercises they had us do was like they put our hands, like they tied our hands together, and we had to figure out how to get out of it. And once somebody got out of it, I didn't think to like ask, hey, how'd you do that? And we were just trying to do it, and my partner was like, well, let's ask them how they did it. And then they were willing to come over and share how they got out of it. Otherwise, it would have taken us a lot longer. We wouldn't have got out of it. And then the instructor of that course said that in previous classes, people would like hide their knowledge. They'd be like, no, I'm not telling you how to get out of it. Like, I figured it out. You can figure it out on your own. And that's like the wrong mentality to have. And that's more of the scarcity mindset of, oh, if you win, I lose type of thing, rather than if I help you win, it helps me win. It's the law of reciprocity too, going back to like helping somebody else, and then in the future they're going to help you, but sharing your knowledge with the world. Tony Robbins talks about, the first mountain we climb is like for ourselves, helping us get to the level of success that we want to accomplish. And then the second mountain in life is helping somebody else climb that mountain, reaching down and helping them up. And like most successful people that I've met want to help. They have no problem. Like if I ask them a question, they're willing to share it with you because they get joy from it as well. You get joy from helping somebody else succeed. And a lot of people don't make that correlation. It's where a lot of us are brought up in a scarcity mindset rather than the abundance mindset.
Yeah, if somebody else is winning, that means that's less food on the table for me to win, and there's just more than enough out there for everyone to win. I think this that exactly what you're saying translates really well recently with what happened with me. I've been, I guess, in my business for like 4 years now, and then I started my management company a little over a year ago. But I got clients really fast in my business. But what I was also doing along the way was there was kind of a mentor for me. So I befriended him. I helped him in any way I could. Things kept going by. I kept sending him leads, whatever. We just stayed in touch. I was helping his business in any way I could. And he's 7-8 times the size of me. And then recently, he was like, hey, I need somebody to come into my business. We kind of want to merge with you or buy you out or whatever the case may be. And you'd be a bigger part. So instead of you owning your own small business, own a smaller piece of a much bigger business, but we can go a lot farther together. But the thing is like, that opportunity came. I jumped on it. It was a good fit. I was filling a piece that they needed. So it was kind of like, it wasn't forced. It was like, hey, you're the person, you're the who. In this situation, I was the who to him. And anyways, the point that I'm trying to drive home is that like, if I had the scarcity mindset, because we were directly competitors doing property management in the same market, if I had the mindset of like, hey, I want to step on this guy's throat because he's my competition, like I'm going to take his clients, I'm going to do this, like that loser mentality, this opportunity would have never came. So it's like I just helped him, and I was like, I can still win too, and still help him, and help this person, and help this person. And then everybody knows who I am, so now I'm getting more leads and all that stuff. So I want to pivot into that because I know that's something that you're really good at. I would say I'm like pretty good at it, but it's like every time I look at your social media, you're at some event. And like half the time I'm there, and then half the time I'm like, damn, I was invited. I said I was going, but like I just stayed at home. Yeah. But anyways, what my point is, like, you're really good about networking, getting into the local community. Like, how has that kind of helped your business from just being everywhere all the time and giving back?
So it's helped it tremendously. The biggest thing that I will say is I was very conscientious when I got into the business to put everything into my calendar and follow my calendar. Like being good at time management and being disciplined gives you the freedom and flexibility to like jump on something when an opportunity presents itself. So like how I'm able to show up to every event is I put it in my calendar. I don't commit to anything until I look at my calendar and say, yeah, I have an opening there. And then I put that event in my calendar, and then I know that I'm going to be there.
You're already committed. Like it's ingrained. See, I put it on my calendar and I'm like, that's optional.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things I use Calendly to be able to have clients or anybody on the internet just book time with me. So in order to do that, I have to be very diligent to make sure that anywhere there's an opening, I don't have something scheduled. I'm not double booking anybody. And it's taken 3 years to get really good at that. But it's also allowed me, like my biggest client, the investors that found me on YouTube, they just booked a Calendly appointment with me straight off of YouTube. And then I just met with them, and, it helps you look more professional. Again, keeping promises to yourself, showing up when you say you're going to be there. I was in manufacturing for years, so I woke up early, and that's part of my identity, who I am. When I switched careers, I started sleeping in a little bit later, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like me.
You were sleeping in because you could sleep in,
Yeah,
right? Because you're a realtor, and you're like, the realtor is, to me, the way I look at a realtor, sorry to cut you off, is like, it's the same thing as an entrepreneur. You have to market, you have to sell, you do everything that you're a business owner.
Yeah.
You're just, people don't look at realtors, they just look at them as like realtors. But I'll put them like in similar buckets. Like, you do the same thing. You are running your own business. You are just the business.
Well, and then there's realtors who don't realize that they are running their own business. They are the business. So if you don't treat your business, whether it's real estate or whatever it is, especially when you're driving all of the sales, there's no cap on your potential, what you can earn, but there's also no cap on what you have to produce. There's nobody telling you what to do, how to set your schedule up. And so that's like the biggest thing, is if you're not very self-motivated and you don't have somebody telling you, hey, you need to wake up at this time, you need to do these activities, people just feel lost. And so that's one area that I knew coming into this, is like, I have to be very diligent with being on time, doing what I say I'm going to do. Like, I still try to, when I first got in the business, like, my calendar was stacked. I did activities, whether it was classes on real estate, social media, meeting with vendors like home inspectors, lenders, anybody that I would work with in a transaction. I built those relationships before I ever needed them, so that when the time came and I needed their help, they were more likely to like jump on it for me and like help me out. And it paid off multiple times, and it makes you look better with your clients, with the people you're trying to make sales to, because I was like, I have built relationships with these people who make me look good. When I turn a client over to these people, I know that they're going to be taken care of, and the ball's not going to get dropped. So part of it, going out networking, building relationships with people before you ever need them, and also the reciprocity. I send referrals to those people before like they've ever given me business. Again, that give, and then you get an ask. And so it's made me look really well. Going into the community-oriented like side of the business, like, I get to do things that I love that don't feel like work, but like I'm involved in several different organizations and helping nonprofits in the area, highlighting other people's businesses. None of that is actually bringing me in monetary business on a day-to-day, but it's the second and third order consequences that like bring me in business. Like, I've done a few different leadership courses, and I'm in Leadership New Braunfels, and I was able to help one of my classmates buy a house because we were just in the same class together. And then I've also tried to use people for their services in whatever groups I'm in. So like, my first coach I met in a networking group, and that's how I got into coaching. I hired her when I was doing a career change. Right now in my leadership course, I hired a tax guy to help me with my taxes, and he's very knowledgeable. So it's like making sure that you're prioritizing using people's services before you ever ask for their services. Plus, I know how they are going to treat my customers if I'm their customer first.
So I guess one question I have is, like, in Facebook groups, do people not use the search bar whenever they look for a realtor? Because I feel like it's asked every day, and I feel like there's 300 recommendations. It's like, I feel like being a real estate agent and or broker, whatever you call it, but realtor, I feel like it's super competitive, because everybody, maybe it's like low barrier to entry, right? Like, getting your license, you officially can play the game. But there's so many people playing the game that it's like, there's a lot of people at the bottom, and I feel like there's this big gap, and then there's these top producers that really do all the business, and the numbers don't lie. So I think that's like part of what you've broken through to that point where it's like, hey, like, I'm the guy here in New Braunfels, and at least your name comes up a lot, but it comes back to exactly what you're saying of like, you're doing all these things that don't bring you money at the time, but you're helping people. But it's like you're planting all of these seeds, and it may not grow for 4 years, but you did that a year ago, and so to help so and so buy their first house. So when they're ready to buy their second house or something, or that maybe that didn't involve you, but it will involve you later on down the road. I'm trying to think. What was I going to ask? Oh, okay. So one question I have for you is like, okay, it's hard to put this into one bucket, but you do a lot of it. You do the networking, you do the social media marketing. You're playing the game on all fronts. My question to you is, you have to pick one strategy, and it's the only strategy you can use. This is the game. You have to pick one strategy, and it's the only strategy you use, whether it's social media, networking, whatever's worked the most for your business, and you have to do that for the rest of the time. That's the only thing you get to do. Which one is going to bring you the most? What are you picking, and what's going to bring you the most bacon?
I'll go with video, because video is the highest return on your investment. If you record something once, it's out there working for you 24/7, 365. And you can't do that. You can't be in all these places at once. Like, I love belly to belly. That's my second, would be in-person networking, building relationships. But when you make videos, they're out there doing the work for you,
and
building
resurfacing.
rapport. Yeah. They're breaking down those walls with people to like get them to know you before you ever even meet them in person. It's a full wagon wheel. Like, if you have spokes on a wagon wheel, it's like you have your email marketing, your social media, your mailers, your in-person. So like, that's the way I've learned it in marketing. There's all of these different spokes and different avenues that you can market. I had a girl reach out to me yesterday that I met her 10 years ago in San Marcos, and she has a home cleaning business now. But she was like, hey, I saw you're a realtor. I found one of your business cards in one of my clients' houses that I was cleaning. And I was like, okay, just trying to figure out who it was, if it was one of my clients I sold a house to. And I asked if it was this name, and she's like, no, it's this name. And I had no idea who they are, but they've got one of my business cards sitting in their house. But that's like, okay, I don't know where they got my business card. I don't know who they are, but there's so many people out there who know me just because of all of the marketing that I do. And it's kind of surreal sometimes. I remember the first time I saw it, I was at a networking event, and this guy was like, oh, happy birthday, because he had seen that it was my birthday on social media. I had no idea who he was. And you don't realize how much you can inspire other people through video content. Like, by whether it's your business, I do more personal growth and development stuff. So I kind of combine it with community-oriented, educational, and inspirational content. And by hitting those broad categories, I'm not just trying to sell somebody something. I'm trying to get them to know more about their community, inspire them to do more and be better people in their lives, as well as educate them on the real estate experience and what it's like to buy a home. So I'm not just trying to sell them something. I actually care about them and want them to have a better quality of life. And when you come from that approach, rather than the old used car salesman, get them to yes type model, here, buy, that's not, people are used to that. They don't want that anymore. They want to know that you are relatable, that you do the same things that they do, that you're a real person just like them with flaws and all. One of my favorite sayings is, you're uniquely positioned to best serve the person you once were. So there's a lot of people out there who used to be in the same position I was, and I've been able to transcend that and get to the next level in life. And so I want to share my experiences with them so that they can get to the next level in life as well.
Yeah, man, I love that. And I think that's a good point, is just help people first. If somebody's looking for a realtor, and they're like, okay, I'm a realtor, but what do you actually need?
Yeah.
Do you sell, let's say, long-term rentals, but they're like, hey, I want to buy a vacation home in Fredericksburg. Maybe you would take it, probably, maybe, but maybe you're too busy and you have enough business here, and this would be out of the way, and you're like, hey, I'm actually not really educated on vacation rentals, but I have another realtor over here that is a rock star.
Yes.
Are you're going to be doing that person a disservice by selling them a house just so you can make money, versus saying, hey, maybe I get some kickback, maybe I don't, but I'm going to send it to this person out here that only sells vacation homes, because they can analyze it and they can fucking tell you, exactly what your investment would look like, versus you being like, I think it would do well. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's putting the client's needs first. I actually did that with Johnny and Jessica Martinez. They are veterans. You know, they
We're in
own
their
that
house.
market.
We're in their house right now.
Yeah, and I got a call the other day, and it was somebody looking for. They've got somebody moving from California that's a veteran. They want to be close to the military bases in San Antonio, and I don't really do business in San Antonio because San Antonio is so big. Like, as a realtor, you should have geographical competency. You should be comfortable with where you're working, and you should also set boundaries for yourself. I don't want to drive more than an hour away to do business because it's not the best use of my time.
Unless it's like a $3.5 million.
Yeah,
you might say yes to that.
Yeah, but it's
I know, I'm just
putting
kidding. I
the
understand what you're
client
saying.
first of
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
hey, let me put you in touch with somebody else, another realtor who's going to serve you better than I would be able to do for you. And if you can have that approach, you know, putting the person's needs before your desire to go earn a paycheck, it's like that's going to pay off in the long run. But a lot of people don't realize that you know, they're just like, and I get it. A lot of times, you know, most people are just working to survive. But if you can think about other people before yourself, you know, and yes, I might need the money, but I'm not going to be the best person for this. And so it'll come back to you if you can like be okay with delayed gratification.
People like that honesty too. Like they like the fact that like, hey, he wasn't just trying to sell me something. He really just genuinely wanted the best result for me. Mm-hmm. If I am the best result for you, I'm going to tell you I'm the best. If I'm not, I'm going to tell you who the best result is instead of just making a transaction and taking your money. Yeah. So, but I want to go back to one more thing. So, like, one thing you talked about is like you if you chose one avenue, you would go the social media route. So, I think one thing to piggyback off of that is like it's also an investment long term because you're building a personal brand for yourself. So, if you decide I don't want to be Yitz the realtor anymore, I want to be Yitz the pizzeria guy. Yeah. Like you could start a pizzeria and pick right where you left off. Like there would be some learning curve, right? But you would be able to take your brand and be like, oh, Yitz started a pizza place, but you have that brand to leverage. You're not starting over from the beginning. So you have that entire network to where it's like, I have my personal brand. People know who I am. I have this community behind me. So whatever I want to do from that will result from building the personal brand that I've built. There's so much power behind that because whatever you do later on, that following just kind of follows you. Yeah. And if it's all still tied into stuff that we're talking about, like, you know, whatever, motivational, being the best version of yourself, that translates over there too. Yeah. So like the whole being the best version of yourself really just translates to every single bucket of your life. So anyways.
Well, and it's so when it's the transferable, a lot of people, you know, especially real estate, they get out of real estate or they're coming into real estate, they feel like they're starting over. And I always try and tell people, you're not starting over, you're starting from experience. Everything that you've learned in another industry, you can find a way to make it transferable. So especially with like social media and marketing, you can take that to any business. The skill set that I've learned of being able to talk to a camera, being able to smile, use my hands, like be more, I've had to learn that skill set. I used to be more monotone and like kind of boring. You know, I've had somebody at one point say, I'm going to put this video on when I want to go to sleep because it was so like boring. And so I took
the internet trolls,
man. But I took that as like constructive feedback and I was like, okay, I need to be more energetic. I need to smile more. I need to have more hand movements. And I built a skill set to now I can highlight other people's businesses. I could go into marketing. Like I have, the other day I was at a restaurant and they were like struggling in their business. They're just open. They're trying to get more views, more people, more patrons in the door. And
where was this located?
In Seguin.
Okay, yeah, I saw it too. I saw it on Facebook.
It's called Z's Bistro, and it's a really great restaurant, and they had a food truck. And so I was able, while I was there, just for another event, to go out and record a video and put it out there and shared it into some different groups, and it has like almost 12,000 views.
Yeah, I saw it too. I was like, that's
and I don't know that necessarily brought people into their business, but 12,000 people saw their business who hadn't seen it before or didn't know about it. So that's something that I'm very proud of now, is to be able to take the skills that I've learned for my business in order to help other people with their business and teaching them how to do it themselves, or just being able to like that was like 15 minutes of my time to like record that video and edit it and put it out, and it, you know, probably got their business a lot of views that they would not have had otherwise. So starting over is different. You're starting with experience. You're starting from experience, and that's something that I try and tell people, you know, because most people are hard on themselves. They're like, oh, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. This is a new industry. And I had great mentors when I got in this business teach me, like, working on my unique value proposition. What makes you different than any other realtor in the business? And broke it down, and like what was transferable from my 10 years in manufacturing. I solved problems every day. Like, I'd get a blueprint from an engineer, we'd get it out on the floor, and it was not right. We couldn't build it the way that they did, so we'd have to re-engineer it and solve problems and figure it out. So it's like, okay, that's one area it's the same thing. In a real estate transaction, a problem arises, we look for solutions and figure out how to solve and
when is there
adapt.
when is there not a problem?
Yeah,
like there's always some hurdle in a way. If you're going to sell a house, help them buy a house. I've never heard of something where it's just like, nah, maybe they happen, but I feel like they're few far in between. Where it's like, no, they wanted this much money back. They found that this was broken. They found whatever. It's never like, sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me,
and so solving problems,
Exactly.
the bigger problems you solve for people, the more money you make as well. And so that's where it's like, anytime that something doesn't go right, I've gotten more in the habit of saying, this is to be expected. You know, I wanted to earn more money, so I get to solve bigger problems. So if you, like, one of the sayings that I've come up with in real estate and in life is just roll, solve, adapt. Roll with the punches, provide solutions, and adapt to the changes. Like, if you can do that, there's always going to be something thrown at you. If you just get better at handling it, and immediately, instead of looking at the problem, you start going to solve and find the solution. And then you adapt and you just go forward. And then that's going to happen again, and you're going to do it again. But all of those things make you more capable of solving bigger and more difficult problems, and you earn more as you progress through getting better at solving problems.
Yeah, all that makes sense, man. I like it a lot. I think a lot of I don't think that I ever going to drop everything and become a realtor or sell houses or something like that. But there's been a little bit of me that has thought about it in regards to, like, I don't really have to. I can keep doing what I can do, but like if our business, we manage 70 homes, there's oftentimes when the homeowner's like, hey, I'm ready to sell, or I'd like to buy another one. Like, would I go out and blast myself as a realtor? Probably not. But in my shoes, I know the investment game from like a vacation rental perspective. So if I did get some education on how to, facilitate that as a realtor, would that be another nice stream of income that wouldn't take up too much of my time when they're like, hey, do you know someone? All the time they're like, hey, Austin, do you know someone who could sell my house, right? And then it's like, maybe that could be me. And I've thought about it, but I'm not ready to act on it. I don't know if I actually want to do that. But and how much it entails is what it would be, because then it would be it would be in the same business, but it might be taking away from like what my real mission of what I'm trying to get. But it's also like, hey, like, if they got me the house, all I got to do is list it. I mean, no, I'm making it sound easier than it actually is. But, it could be
there's also referral based. Like, you could get your license and then just give out referrals.
That's what I really want to do.
Referral fees from all of the people. Just like usually a 25% referral fee on.
That's what I want to do. Then I don't have to do anything. And it's not. There's nothing illegal about that, right? Like,
No,
it's just like, hey, I have my license. This client, we manage for them, right?
Because if you're not a realtor, I can't give you any more than like $50, like a $50 gift card. But if you are a realtor, I can give you 25% of my commission on whatever, like the
but it's all
cost.
day long for you because you didn't have to work for it.
Exactly.
I did the work for you. So why would you not want a referral? And I'd be like, I'll give 25% all day long.
Triangle of trust. Like, I have a listing coming up that's from I did Texas Realtors Leadership Program and built a relationship with several realtors from around Corpus Christi, Harlingen, Kerrville, and one of the agents in Corpus, she called me up and she's like, hey, my cousin's looking to sell her home in Wimberley. She asked if I could do it, but she can't do it because she's in Corpus. And so she was like, you're the first person I thought of. And she was like, is it okay for, a 20% referral fee? And I was like, no, I'll give you 25, like, because you've done most of the work for me. Like, she has that triangle of trust. You've already talked me up and told her how good I am. So, like, she's already going to go with me as long as I do my job correctly. But my job is much easier because she's already built the trust, and she has the triangle of trust is what I call it.
I think it's I could be wrong, but I'm almost 100% positive. It's the highest percentage of a closed sale or like a new client is a referral, right? Because it's putting the trust on it. And then you're also like, I don't have to call like 3 or 4 other people. I don't have to interview other people. And whether you get money from it or you don't get money from it, I think in the real estate game, it's kind of standard to do things like that, right? Like it is what it is. And it's so competitive. Like, hey, you got to give up a little bit to get that, right? But a lot of people, like in our industry, like we work with everyone that touches a house, right? So if we're managing a vacation home, what does that entail? We need to have HVAC people, plumbing people, pest control, cleaners, handymen, anyone that touches a house, window cleaners, whatever. And when we are dealing with that many people, the referrals is everything. Absolutely. And a lot of times they'll give, they'll do like referral kickbacks or something like that. But at the end of the day, a lot of the time, that stuff is not important to me. Like, am I sending good plumbers, electricians? Am I sending good people out to the house that are going to do good work, that are going to be honest and integrity and full of integrity? Because if I get a kickback and they screw me over, who cares about my reputation is damaged more than that money's going to make an impact. So a lot of times, if they don't even do a referral fee, if I'm sending enough business, I'll be like, hey, let's just do some kickback or something like that, because I'm blowing you up here. But if they're like, hey, we don't do that, then I'm like, okay, we'll just keep doing good work. Because that is always more important. But if you can get paid, like, we're all out here trying to get money. Like, it is what it is. And if they can win too by me getting a referral, and they're going to keep getting business, and they're like, yeah, I'm happy. But yeah, I think from like a real estate perspective, for you, it's like all day long, because I feel like it's hard enough to get clients as competitive as the realtor game is.
I also, not everyone is for me. And like, if you can get to a certain point in your business where it's like, yes, it's competitive, but I've realized I want to help people who want help. I'm not going to go bug somebody and try and,
beg for their
business. Yeah, I don't do business the way that every other realtor does. I don't do cold calls. I don't do door knocking. I don't go out there and buy leads. I have done some warm leads, because you got to do these things in any business, figure out what works for you.
In the beginning, right? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I in the beginning, like, my mentor was paying for Google PPC leads, like Google pay-per-click. And it was, somebody would put in their information, and then I'd get a call, or I'd have to call them right away. They wanted to just see pictures of a house or something. So they wanted to see it enough to put in their information, but they're also not very serious. And so I did that for like 7 months. And then I even took a part-time job in sales to get better at it. And I knew that, like, just if I know my habits, like, if I do something long enough, consistently enough, I will get better at it. But I realized I had no desire to get better at that part. I was like, I don't want that to be part of my business. I was dreading it every day. And I was like, I didn't switch careers so that I could wake up and dread getting on the phone and
cold calling people.
Yeah, getting hung up on, getting yelled at, leaving voicemails. I was like, that's not fulfilling to me. And so I decided not to do that. I was like, it helped me realize I don't have to do what everybody else does. If that works for you, that's great, but that doesn't mean that I need to do that in order to be successful. So it's kind of finding your own ingredients for your recipe for success, and realizing just because somebody tells you that's the way it's supposed to be done, you don't have to do it that way. Try it out. Give it a good amount of time, but then don't hold on to it. Be able to let it go and move on to the next thing if you realize it's not for you. And so that's, again, the dichotomy of, like, stay consistent with something, but also know when to let it go. Like, this isn't for me. It's not good what I want my business to be like. And so finding your own formula for success is something that I highly recommend. And you have to do that through trial and error.
Yeah, so when you first get started, you're more desperate. Like, it is what it is. It's not like you were at a point where you're like, I say no to 90% of people, and I only work with these. No, because you can't be that way. You have to do these things that, like, you don't want to do at first, to realize, like, hey, I actually don't have to do this. This avenue over here is actually making more money. And then whenever you go to a point, like, kind of where we are in business, where we can it's not a flex, it's not arrogant. It's just like we only have so much time and energy, and we have an ideal client that, you know, we want to work with. So like your buy box or your client standard is different. So it's like, you know, maybe there's somebody that comes to you and it's like, you're getting the vibe that maybe they want to see 17 houses or something. And it's like, maybe that doesn't align. I don't know how your business is. Maybe that doesn't align with what you want to do. I want to work with investors that are ready to make offers that have this amount of money in the bank, that have a track record of buying X amount of houses over the last 5 years, whatever. But at first you can't get there because you've never worked with those kind of people. Now, when you elevate your level of client, that's kind of is setting those standards. And I think that's where you're getting at too. Like in the beginning, you just had to say yes to everything. And then you start saying less and less yes. And now it's transitioning into a point where you're saying more and more no, because it's not worth my time. I've been down that road before. This isn't a serious buyer. And, you know, it is what it is. And it's fine that happens because somebody else gets to learn from that client by you saying no to them. So,
but also in order to elevate your client, you have to elevate yourself. You have to like realize, okay, I started wanting to get more into luxury, so I took some luxury classes and learned more about like affluent people. Where do affluent people hang out? What do they do? You know, country clubs, boat clubs, you know, car clubs, like all of these things. And then what is more important to an affluent person? Somebody who has confidence, somebody who has skill, somebody who knows the speed to get something done, and also like writing. What I learned from the class is if you've written a book or you do public speaking or you do these things that just hold a higher weight in like a more wealthy person's mind, you're on a board of directors, you're doing these things. So I took all of those things into account in order to elevate myself. It helps me present myself better to people who have a higher price point. If I'm showing up in like a junker car and like to, you know, $1 million listing, they're going to judge me for that, you know, whether I like it or not. That's just the world we live in.
They're not going to take you seriously.
Exactly. So you have to take yourself serious enough in order for other people to take you seriously.
Yeah, that's something I thought too. Like there is that aspect of it. It's like you want to be very financially well off, right? So like maybe you have to live below your means, but at the same time, like if you're trying to sell somebody with money, you got to play the part too. Because if you pull up in a beater car, no matter how many houses you sell, you have to try even harder to sell that client because they're judging you by what you pull up in, because they say if he sells enough houses, he shouldn't be driving that. Yeah. So it's kind of a shitty stigma, but it is like what it is.
Well, and it's also learning the money game. Like these people have done well enough with their lives and they want to know somebody who understands like the tax implications. Like they've usually got a lawyer or a CPA or a tax strategist. We're like looking at capital gains when we sell a house. If it's a second home or a vacation home, there's different tax ramifications. There's different, you know, you're going to be paying cash or you're going to be paying higher interest on a loan for a second property. So if you know all of those things and you can speak the language of money, then you're more likely to bring money towards you rather than if you're just going in there guns a-blazing, willy-nilly, and you don't know anything you're talking about, the fake it till you make it, that only gets you so far.
They're going to sniff you out. They're like, that guy's full of bullshit. Yeah. Interesting. What else you got?
Are we at time?
What do we got? 8 more minutes? Yeah, we can just keep running it, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What else? Anything anything else you want to cover?
I don't know. I mean, we hit on a lot of stuff. I think, you know, real estate, wealth, mindset, kind of hit on everything.
What's in it for you? Like what's long-term plan for Yitz? What do you want to do?
So long-term, this year I'm working to get my broker's license. So finishing up that, it's 900 hours in order to be a broker in the state of Texas, which is
what
crazy.
Perks come with that? Like why would what does it matter to me as somebody buying a house that you're a broker or not a broker? Like
knowledge,
what are the
knowledge
pros?
And experience, like the fact that I've done 900 hours of education. I've been in the business for at least 4 years. I've done a certain amount of transactions because there's points that you have to do a certain number of transactions. You have to have been in the business for 4 years and have 900 hours. And then there's a difference. Some people transfer over college credits to get their broker's license. And a lot of times those college credits don't have anything to do with real estate.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's always, again, experience and education that you want to find that perfect mix. And so I've seen some brokers, that aren't the best at what they do, and it shows up in their offers and how they represent and their professionalism. So I just take great pride in my professionalism, my knowledge and experience, and I want to be able to convey that to my clients as well as to other agents. I want to raise the profession as a whole. So I want to encourage other realtors in the business to get educated, to get involved with their local real estate board, with their community, with like the learning about what's going on in your city helps you become a better realtor. All of those things combined is just raising the professional standards in our industry, especially with all of the changes that we've had in the last year. So that's why I'm working to be a broker. Then I can start my own brokerage if I want to. I'm just going to stay a broker associate, and I'm going to bring more agents on and train them and encourage them and coach them and teach them what I've learned to help them be successful in their businesses. So it's the downstream effects of just having the knowledge to share with others. To
it's just another it's another accolade to add.
Yes,
to make
it's also
to your resume.
for me.
Yeah, for sure. But if that sets you apart from, I mean, it instantly sets you apart from a bunch of other people. Then
Yeah, because there's people who've been in the business for 10 years who don't ever plan to get their broker's license. They just do the sales. And that's the thing. I don't always want to do real estate sales. I have a bigger vision for my life. And part of that is being able to help other agents be successful and then getting money from doing that. And so growing a group of agents underneath me is kind of the next goal. Coaching, mentorship, public speaking. That's where I see myself in the future, and real estate will always be a steady through that, whether it's doing sales or investing. I love the real estate game. So
yeah, I think one thing I definitely like about you is that I feel like you're very aligned with where you want to go. And I think I think you and I both, I think we've kind of found for now our purpose ish of like, we don't know what the final outcome at the end of the road is, but we know what we need to do and we know how to take the next steps, and it will reveal itself at some point. Right. But man, I'm good. I appreciate the chat today. I thought it was good.
Yeah,
any final thoughts?
No, I mean, it was a good conversation, and one on like clarity of where you're going, being able to gain clarity. Okay, I have a vision for where I'm going, and then being able to reverse engineer it and figure out that version of myself, like that future version who has accomplished everything that I want to accomplish. What did he have to do to get there? What were what were the daily traits, the daily habits that he had to do to accomplish that? What were the milestones that got him there? And then, like, if I know those, it's a good lens to evaluate opportunities on what to say yes to and what to say no to. If it doesn't align with that long-term vision of where I'm going, it's easy to say no, that doesn't fit in, that's going to take away from what I'm working on to achieve. And if I get an opportunity that's like, yes, that aligns with where I'm going, it's easier to say yes.
I think I equate that to everything in life. Like, every decision I make is like, what bucket of life does this contribute to? Does making this decision get me closer or farther away from where I'm trying to go? And if you can adopt the mindset that you just don't give a shit, and it's like anything that takes away from what I'm trying to do, if it pleases somebody else, sorry, that's your problem. Like, anything that takes away from where you're trying to go is just like learning to say no to. And I think that is one thing that a lot of people struggle with, and you have to stop caring, and you have to be able to say no. And regardless if it hurts somebody's feelings or whatever the case may be, at the end of the day, like, you have to be selfish, because, you know, if you want to be the best version of yourself, you're not going to be able to help other people. If somebody is taking away your time here and you're like, this was a waste of my time, or I went out and I drank alcohol last night, so now I can't operate today. Whatever. It's just, I think learning the power to say no is just so critical. So
absolutely.
Cool. Final thoughts. That's all we got. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.